Hey everybody, welcome to the Player's Take, episode 28. I am your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up?
For those of you who haven't listened before, the Player's Take is our weekly podcast where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. The show posts at 6 a.m. on Central Time on Fridays on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and your favorite podcast app of choice. We're going to get right into it this week. We are all business. We need to get out of here in a clean 110 to 120, probably. We'll see if we make it.
Yeah.
Montrell, let's start like we always do with what we've been playing. What have you been playing this week, my friend?
Only thing I got a chance to play was League of Legends.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably the only thing since last week when we talked.
You love this game.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Ever since I started climbing again.
Yeah, you got re-addicted to it once you made that Smurf account.
Yeah, because my I guess what they call it, MMR was so bad on my primary account.
Yeah.
Because that was like my first account anyway.
It was like tainted.
Yeah, so.
I've been playing. I played a little bit more Fell Seal. Not much more to say about that at the moment. I'm playing at such small bursts, unfortunately, like a few hours a week, that I'm not making a lot of progress, but I'm hoping. I'm going away next week. I'm hoping after that I can really sit down and knock this game out because I love this game, but I want to get more time into it. Also been playing a little bit more Zelda. I got to my third area finally. I got to the Zora area.
Okay.
I haven't actually gone to the Zora domain yet, but I'm at the beginning of that area and I'm like kind of cleaning it out now, so making a little bit more progress. Still enjoying it a lot. There's just a lot of game.
Yeah.
It's a very large game. It's very, very large. But, yeah, that's pretty much it. Not playing a whole lot. I haven't had a lot of time to play. I know you haven't really either.
These last couple of weeks have been crazy for us.
It's been rough, man.
Yeah.
The summer's been rough. Like, dude, the summer's like it's supposed to be the time you get to play, man. Like, what's going on in our lives, man?
I don't think for us. I think it's the opposite for us because we're gamers. So like,
yeah, it's like winter.
Yeah,
winter's a good time for us. Okay, all right. Let's move on to the news. We got a few stories this week. Very Ubisoft centric. First one, this one has been a fun controversy to follow because Ubisoft released a player quest creator in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and what is the first thing the players did with this mode, or this new tool, is they created quests that you literally do nothing and you get a whole shitload of experience for free. Of course people are going to do that. That's you give people the ability to create things, they're going to create convenience things for themselves. That's pretty normal with video games. However, Ubisoft, I didn't think much of it when these stories first started coming out, but once Ubisoft said, first they came out and they were like, please stop using the quest creator this way. It's not in the spirit of what we're intending with this thing. Then they said they're going to start banning people who create these quests, or not necessarily the people, but banning the quests, like getting them off of the feed,
okay.
so they're not available, like just taking them away, period. And they started doing it, I believe. And I, again, still didn't think much of it, and then I started thinking about the whole situation, and I was like, you know what? They have microtransactions in the game where you can buy XP boosters. I didn't make that connection until a couple days ago, and I was like, oh, that changes the whole complexion of this situation.
Yep.
Because at first, I felt like they were just being tyrants because they just didn't want people to have their own version of fun.
Yeah.
But then when I figured that out, I was like, oh, of course, they think this is going to eat into their potential sales of XP boosters in the game. Of course. But
XP boosters kind of ruin the game. To me, they fixate the game around that. So even if there's not a real way to prove it, the game slowly puts you behind a wall, XP wall.
So this has reignited this controversy for this game, because when this game came out, there were tons of people who were like, oh, this game is intentionally made grindier so they'll sell XP boosters. What I will say about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, in my experience playing it for 20 or 25 hours, is that I had literally no issues leveling. Like, none.
I wonder, does it affect you like late game, though?
I doubt it, because my thought process with this game is so massive, and there is so much content in it and so much to do, that if you actually go off the beaten path and do a lot of this stuff, I don't think you're going to have any issues leveling. I think it's literally for people who just do the main quest, and that is all they do.
Okay.
And that is where a lot of the complaints I saw were coming from, were people like that. And honestly, if this game didn't have XP boosters, but it was completely the same in terms of progression, like nothing was changed,
Yeah.
this wouldn't even be a controversy, obviously, because there's no microtransactions involved. I don't think anybody would be complaining. Like, people would be like, oh yeah, you have to do side quests. Like, this is like Xenoblade games do this, where you can't beat a Xenoblade game by just doing main quests.
Yeah,
you don't
you
get
have to
enough
do the side
experience.
quests.
You always have to do side quests. That's how they design their games, and that is how Ubisoft designed Assassin's Creed Odyssey. However, the existence of microtransaction XP boosters muddy the waters because it makes it look like they're intentionally designing the game that way so that you'll buy XP boosters.
Yeah, and I understand, and that's where I'm coming from it.
Yeah.
But and I understand, like, us as natural gamers, I wouldn't say natural gamers, but us just like being boring gamers and stuff like that, or people who've been gaming for a while, I should say. We always go off the beaten path, like whether you want to or not. Like that's what you do in an adventure game. You just like, hey, what's over here?
That's the point of this game.
Yeah.
I don't like this game's story isn't that rich to me. It's exploring.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. But
and a lot of players do just want to play the main story quest. And
I know plenty of people like that.
Yeah, and I mean that's cool. I mean, but you have to unfortunately pay XP boosters because the game's design, like you said, behind that. I just don't like the existence of XP boosters.
I don't either. I don't think it's necessary.
Honestly, I'd rather have like a cheat code than the XP booster. Like they used to be where XP boosters used to be at. Those were like the Game Shark cheat codes.
Cheat code.
Yeah.
Well, I think the honestly, this has become an issue for me. I didn't have as much of an issue with the XP boosters when I played the game because I didn't think they were that big of a deal. Like because I didn't have issues leveling. So. But the fact that they are now releasing a mode to create quests, and they are limiting the scope of said quests to things that they deem are valid with that editor, to me, the fact that they didn't think this would happen is insane, like hilarious to me. Like, did you guys not realize that players were going to do this with your quest editor the second you release this?
Hey man, this goes back to our conversation 2-3 weeks ago with play testing. Like people don't do that anymore. There's no QA testers anymore, bro.
It's just nuts to me that like nobody thought that this would happen. Like it's the first thing your players are going to do.
I'm pretty sure someone in their QA team told them like, hey, this is what's going to happen, and you know we already know how they treat QA people in the industry. They don't really listen to them. They don't consider them a quality part of their team, so they probably ignored it.
But their reaction to this situation is ugly. Like it's just a bad look in my opinion. Like why if you're gonna restrict it to only certain things, why even release this then? Like it's like why did you even do this? You know,
I think they want their own version of like Mario Maker.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Sure.
But like I didn't even know you can get XP off like doing. I thought it was just like a side thing, you know, just like if you want to go ahead and do a side quest, you can or something like that. I didn't know you get XP off of it. So
totally.
Yeah, this is
no. The main way to level in this game is quest experience. You don't get very much from killing things.
Okay.
Or doing other activities. So, I don't know. I think Ubisoft's approach in this situation is stupid too because. Why don't you just let people do it?
It's very
I really don't.
EA-like.
It is, and I don't think it's going to affect the sales of XP boosters.
I'm pretty sure not a lot of people are buying them.
Well, because the XP booster is going to boost these quests too.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Like so. I don't know why they think it's such a huge problem. People probably will still buy XP boosters if they want. Like. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I think they've overreacted, and I think they made themselves look bad.
Well, that's the problem. Like, there's nothing like I said. There's nothing wrong with microtransactions being in the game. The only problem I have with microtransactions is that they're so evasive. If you just put them in there and be like, hey, like for instance, League of Legends or Dota, right? Like, that doesn't ruin the core experience. Like your skin doesn't ruin my core experience. I can go in there and I can buy a skin. And if I don't want the skin, then oh well. Yeah. That's it for me. I can just play with the default character skin, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this reminds me more of Shadow War.
No, Shadow War was very invasive.
Which was much worse than this game,
yeah.
To be fair. Like
that's why that game died very fast.
That game was literally almost gated behind its microtransactions.
Yeah.
And that one was funny, though, because they took the microtransactions out after 6 months of the game being out.
Yep.
and they redesigned the game, like rebalanced the game to accommodate that.
I forgot about that. Maybe I should go back and play that game because I have it.
Yeah, it's probably a great game now. Yeah. I'm sure it's super fun now, but yeah. So
it kind of reminds me of like the Devil May Cry instance where people are making a big deal about that, but
no,
you don't have to. That's one game that, in my opinion, did microtransactions right, because you don't have to go back. You don't have to buy those microtransactions. You can play through the game. Continuously play.
Well, so that's my argument for this game, though. I think you can play through this game perfectly fine without XP boosters.
Yeah.
You just have to be willing to actually like go experience some side quests.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think it's much of an issue. So I don't know. I think that part of it's been overblown, and some content creators on YouTube that I watch, I think have like taken this way too far.
Yeah.
They go so over the top with this. So like they're gating the game. They're ruining our video games with these. I'm like, they didn't ruin Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a fine game.
Yeah.
Even with the existence of these things, like they're going way over the top with it. But
I mean, it's kind of overboard on both sides.
Yeah, I agree. I do.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
I think Ubisoft went way too far with banning people for XP farming. Cause, like you said, I didn't even know the boosters can be applied to the story creator mode. So yeah, I mean, people are still going to buy it. The people that are going to buy it are still going to buy it. The people that are not going to buy it are not going to buy it. You can't change anyone's opinion or mind on that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to another Ubisoft story. At E3, they announced that they're going to have their own subscription service similar to EA Access called Uplay Plus, and they have announced today, day of recording, what that list of games is going to entail, and it is a shitload of Assassin's Creed games. There have been 16 or 15 Assassin's Creed games, apparently.
Yeah, and I didn't know the Brother in Arms games were made by them.
Yeah.
So
they might. I mean, maybe not made by them. They probably own the studio.
Oh, okay. But yeah,
but
it's
a decent list.
Yeah, this library is better than the EA Access library, in my opinion.
2 Anno games, Anno 1800, Anno 2205, and Anno 1800 just came out like a couple months ago. You have the most recent Assassin's Creed Odyssey Ultimate Edition, so that's all the DLC included in that. That is true for all the Assassin's Creeds, it looks like. Any of the ones that have DLC, I think, are going to get that included in what you get here. Like you said, the Brothers in Arms games, Child of Light, which is a nice old indie game that they well, not indie, but one of their smaller studios made. All the Far Cry games are in here. For Honor, a bunch of Might and Magic games, which I'm surprised they're on this list.
Why?
I'm going to be honest, because this series is, I don't want to say obscure, but they have the rights to Might and Magic, including Heroes of Might and Magic, and they have killed this IP.
Really?
Yeah, they've pretty much killed this IP, so I'm surprised they're in there. Let's see. Yeah, actually. Oh, yeah, no, it is Might and Magic. Yeah, they have Might and Magic. They have Might and Magic, the role-playing games, and then they have Might and Magic. That's right, they call Might and Magic. So, Might and Magic was the first-person RPG series.
Yeah.
Back in the day. And Heroes of Might and Magic was an isometric turn-based strategy game. And once they got a hold of the IP, they changed the naming scheme to Might and Magic Heroes for Heroes of Might and Magic. So they actually are including Heroes of Might and Magic 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. Not 4 and not 1, which I find very interesting. I'm not sure why they don't have either of those in there. But Heroes of Might and Magic 2 and 3, great games. So highly recommended on those. Prince of Persia games, the old ones, and then the most recent one from the last generation, which, that's like a 10-year-old game at this point. The Rayman games, the Settlers games, a whole shitload of Tom Clancy games. My God.
Yeah, if you love Tom Clancy games, then this is definitely for you.
Yeah, so
and you get the Division in Division 2. Oh,
yeah, okay. No, it looks like everything. I mean, EA does this with EA Access too. Even their most recent games are included in the $15 a month subscription.
Oh, the $15 a month subscription?
That's what this is, yeah.
Okay.
So I think any new game that is published by Ubisoft is going to be a part of this going forward. So not a bad list, if I have to say. Not too bad. I think the interesting thing about these, for me, is that going forward, They're going to be interesting propositions for when you want to play some games on these publishers' lists.
Yeah.
Because all you need to do is pay $15 and blast through it in a couple weeks, whatever game you want to play.
Yep.
And it's not a bad way to do it. Like, dude, a lot of people did that with Anthem, with EA Access. They just signed up for a month, played it that month. It's $15, and then they got out, when they realized they didn't want to play anymore, and they paid $15.
Yeah, I mean...
If you don't care about owning the game...
Yeah, and technically, this would be like a subscription cost for, Division 2, so they can make more content and shit like that, Yeah,
that's interesting.
So
these services are becoming interesting to me in that sense. I think they're
okay.
I think they're viable, for sure.
Certain companies. Like this right here is a viable list.
Ones with good libraries.
Yeah. EA, I still think that's a trash heap. Because there are only a couple games.
They have a lot of good IPs, though.
They don't do anything with them.
I know, but the games, though, they have a lot of good legacy games in their library. I mean, dude, the Dead Space games, Mass Effect games, all BioWare's library.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true, all that stuff's in there. All the Madden games.
Yeah, you're right.
Even the older ones. So they have a lot of IPs that are...
It's just when I think of EA, I automatically think of Madden.
The Sims games.
Oh, yeah.
SimCity. The SimCity games. Any of those. I mean, they have a lot of good IP in their stable. So I think these companies do have something here with this. It's just... We're not at a point where this is necessarily a good value proposition. Yeah. In terms of...
If it was $10 a month, I think that would be better.
I think 15's asking a little much for me.
Yeah, because you're paying... Say, if you have Xbox Live and you have a PS4, and you want to play both of those online because you have friends on both consoles, and you want to pay $15 a month like Ubisoft, that's almost... 35. No, it's that's over 35. It's $60 a month right there.
Yeah, but I could see a future when physical media, physical games, are gone, and we don't have physical games anymore. A future where I jump between subscriptions and just play the games I want on that specific subscription for the month, and then switch to another one when I'm done. Yeah, That's a future I can see for myself in terms of just saving money, when I can't own games physically anymore, owning digitally is really questionable to me anyways. I don't know if I'm going to care about owning digitally, so these will become much more attractive to me at that time, once that happens, but we're a few years away from that, I think. So all right, let's move on to our last Ubisoft story of the day. This one was very interesting as well. So the creative director for The Division 2, Julian Garrity, asked fans on Twitter what they thought of them working on a potential story-driven Division game. And there was a lot of positive feedback about this, but I wanted to bring this up because this is exactly what our complaints were about The Division 2, is that this game did not lean into its narrative well enough, and it could have done better on that front for me. Okay. And I really like the concept of The Division, and I think a story-driven Division game could be a very, very, very good proposition, actually, at this point, because I don't know how much I care about the shared world shooter aspect of these games. I think they're holding I actually think they're starting to hold the IP back for me. Yeah. From what I want out of them, because the narrative's not great. I think the gameplay gets repetitive and derivative, and they're not able to do super interesting things because of that. And the focus on progression and loot is
I think they should go the Borderlands route. Maybe have 4 main characters. It's hard to say. I don't like the open world aspect, or not, I guess it's not open world-ish, but the shit. It is. Yeah, but with Borderlands 2, right? It seemed like it's more streamlined. It's a single player experience, but you just so happen to have 4 people there with you.
So yeah, I mean, Borderlands' whole thing is it's a single player game first. Yes. That is extremely co-op incentivized.
Exactly, yeah.
And the co-op is really well done. The Division is the opposite. It's a online game, multiplayer game first, with story second. It's secondary. So that's it would be nice to see the Division kind of make that trade-off. What I'm thinking though, dude, I don't need the loot. I don't need the progression. I would love to just see a third-person shooter with the Division's encounter design and level design, and it's extremely story-focused. Like, that would be really appealing to me.
I'm kind of the opposite. I still want the loot, but
Okay.
I feel like it should be more so. Like, I really like the Borderlands 2 way of things for this franchise.
Yeah.
I think that would be, like, really cool for them to go that route. I mean, there is a main... It's built for single player first. You can play it offline.
Yeah. You
can go through the story, but if you want to jump online or do a local co-op with your friends or something
Easy
like that.
to do.
Yeah. So I think they should go that route, in my opinion. I mean, because that would be cool. I mean, because they have so many other stories to tell and things of that nature from, like, the rest of America and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, honestly, both of them can work because, I mean, the scope is not... The scope of this story and this world they built is kind of limitless, to be honest with you. The only thing they're held back by is they can't go to another planet. I mean, it's set in realism. So, but
well, the specific idea here that's floated by Tim Spencer is focusing on an agent trying to get home to their family after being sent to New York City during the Shade blackout from the fall of DC, which is basically the in-between of the Division 1 and Division 2.
Okay.
Right? Because the Shade Network's down at the beginning of the Division 2, and that's your character is in New York City.
That would be pretty cool.
And they leave to go to DC, and then you bring the Shade Network back up over the course of the game.
Yeah.
So that period of time between those two things.
That actually would be pretty cool. That's kind of what I wanted to do with... I wanted them to do with, well, not this franchise, these people, but with Bungie, when you lost your powers as a Guardian.
With Destiny 2.
Yeah. I wanted to go through half the game without my powers and just play a pure shooter game and then get my powers along the way or unlock them throughout the way.
Yeah, because that is, like, with the Shade Network being down, that would mean that robot voice doesn't really talk to you, right?
And you had to discover stuff on your own.
And I think none of your gadgets would work either?
Your gadget would still work.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because they did at the beginning of the game, so...
You won't be able to upgrade them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only way you can upgrade them is by manually, like, tinkering with it. So that'd be cool if you find
crafting materials,
exactly,
and stuff like that.
So it'd be kind of like a single player survival game.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, dude. No, I would be very interested in this. I really would. As I said, I think there's a lot of really rich narrative to be mined out of the idea of the Division. Like, it's a universe that is a very interesting idea, and I think it could really tell great stories. It's just they don't seem to be focused on that with the main games.
Yeah, and they can go really gritty with this story too. They can be
totally
really dark with it. They can be lighthearted with it, but I mean, I think they were really too safe with the Division 2.
Nuance is what I want too. Is that the good characters aren't necessarily just good. Like there's some gray in there, and the bad characters aren't necessarily just cartoony bad. You know, it's like there's actual motive.
See you, Agent.
Yeah. God damn it! I didn't even think about it. Never hear that again. I see you, Agent. Oh my god! What was the other one like? I'm gonna fucking kill you or something like that. Oh my god!
I just remember that. I see you,
banter.
Agent.
Please, if you make it a single player game though, please bring that banter back. Please, whoever made that banter, wrote that banter, and recorded that banter, bring that person back, please, for this game. Because, man, that stuff was hilarious. But yeah, it'd also be interesting to see different parts of the United States too. Yeah, like maybe some of the more rural areas that aren't like city focused.
You run into like maybe militia folk out there or other things, and just see how.
Or you maybe find areas where people aren't even that affected by things.
Oh yeah,
right?
that's true. Yeah,
you
may run into like a little settlement or something like that.
Yeah, settlement, like people with farms and stuff.
Yep.
You know, but. Yeah, so that'd be pretty cool. Hopefully Ubisoft. Hopefully they go down that path. I'd be interested to see it.
I mean, it looks like they're not afraid to
experiment.
Looking at their franchises, they definitely aren't afraid to experiment with different games and their games and within that franchise.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I always respected about them. Even if they make like a mobile version of something, they're like, oh, we're actually going to make an actual game though, so don't worry about it. Except for like Splinter Cell.
Well, they're making a Division movie too, so they are exploring. This IP is like very large for them.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a cool idea, honestly.
It is. It's a very cool idea. So, I actually think this is something that we could see in the future. Whether it's like a DLC for Division 2 or it's its own game, that's to be seen. Depends on the scope they want to go for, I guess. But, alrighty, let's move on. Last story that we have today is GameStop announced that they are partnering with a marketing company called RGA. And they are, this is a quote. So together, GameStop and RGA are developing and piloting new and streamlined physical store concepts, introducing new ways for gamers to try new titles before they buy them. Competitive sessions in homegrown e-leagues to locations that sell strictly retro gaming software and hardware are some ideas that they're going to trial with some of their new concept stores. So they're planning on redesigning a lot of their stores to make them places people go.
Yeah.
And this is something that you and I brought up last time we talked about GameStop, is that they have to change their core appearance as a business. They can't just keep trying to sell video games. Mm-hmm. It's not going to work. It's clearly not working. It's working horribly, actually. Like, they're falling off a cliff.
One thing they can tap into, which I didn't even read till just now, some of these options are pretty hard to come by in most towns, which are pretty right. They are right. Some people have to travel 2 or 3 hours to go to a major city or something like that, just to go to a gaming tournament. Mm-hmm. So if you hold a local one at, like, I don't know, let's say we're in Keller right now, and there's a local GameStop here, and there's a tournament, I don't have to drive all the way to Dallas. So I don't have to drive all the way within Fort Worth just to get there. I can just go to the local GameStop right here and participate in that tournament. So I think that's pretty cool, because there are a lot of untapped potential within that. Yeah. Especially where I come from in Michigan and Detroit, there are some GameStops out there, and
around here too.
Yeah,
dude. Like in Texas, like there's plenty of places that have GameStops that don't have access to that kind of thing.
Exactly, so. And they can be the local hub for, like they're targeting. There can be the local hub for that video game centric place. Because one thing that I liked, even though Microsoft doesn't expand upon it, but the Microsoft store in the Fresco. Or Fresno. I don't know if it's called Fresco or Fresno.
Frisco and Fresno are both.
Okay, I think it's Frisco.
Cities.
Frisco.
It's probably Frisco.
Yeah, Frisco. The Microsoft store in there holds down tournaments for League of Legends, Dota, and things of that nature.
That's cool.
In that local store, and they also do Gears of War and stuff like that in that store in the mall.
Man, that's fun, dude.
Yeah, so I went to a couple of them, but the simple fact that they hold them, and you can sign up for them and things of that nature. They hold like every 2 or 3 months, so you don't have to do it every month, or you don't have to do it every week, but like once a month or two. They have a shit ton of people that come in there, buy Microsoft gear and shit like that, and they play in the video games that they like to play, and then they leave. Even if they don't buy anything, that's a central hub for them because their friends are there, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So with GameStop doing this, they should have done this 5 years ago.
Oh, they should have done this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Dude, this makes so much sense for them to be a hub for gamers.
Yes.
Like, places like this don't exist for video games. Like, this isn't like board games where board game stores have tables laid out for you to play board games. Like, video game stores don't really do this.
And they can expand into that if they wanted to.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Dude, they could totally do board games, which they already sell some, but they're usually video game themed. But they could expand into board games fully. They could also expand into comic books. I think would be a natural fit for them too. And I think it just makes sense for them to be a destination. They should have done this a long time ago and stop being so corporate and be a place that gamers actually want to go.
Yes,
like have like couches and TV set up for people to play. And like I said here, let people try games in the store. They're not gonna beat the game sitting in the store most of the time. It's like not possible. So it like give them like an hour to play or something like that, and then. Dude, I guarantee you that would drive sales. Like, people would be like, oh, I want to try this game. I'm not sure if I want to buy it or not. And then they'd try it, and they'd be like, oh, man. Like, I'm sure sometimes people wouldn't, but a lot of times people would.
So, you remember before they became GameStop, they were called Funko Land.
Funko Land, EB Games.
Yeah. And I
Electronic Boutique.
Funko Land used to let me, like, when I used to buy my Genesis games from them, they used to let me try it for about 30 minutes, play the game, and then if I like it, I can buy it. And I vividly remember that, and they stopped doing that because I remember one time I asked, I think they started around the PS1 generation, because I asked, hey, can I try this Crash Bandicoot game? And they're like, no, you can't really try it anymore. That's not really our policy. We can't do that anymore. So I was like, oh, okay. I ended up buying the game, but it was still kind of weird when they said you can't do that anymore. So that now that they're shifting towards that, also another thing is this will drive people to come together again.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people, even the younger gamers, have been wanting that co-op, that local co-op experience, that local human interaction experience. Because with the lack of games and the lack of people hosting
couch co-op.
Yeah, couch co-op and hosting LAN parties now. This can be the LAN party setup place now. You know.
Yeah, man.
So
they can do cool things, dude.
They can actually change the industry with this. They can drive developers to make more couch co-op games and things of that nature.
Yeah, and I hope they're around long enough as a company for us to see the fruits of this. I really want to see if this works, because if it doesn't, that'll be a shame. But I think it can, you know? I really think it can. The problem is that it's GameStop. It's like there's so much negative perception they have to overcome.
Yeah.
For this to work for them, I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off.
Well,
you know,
I mean,
they're like EA, they're looked at like EA, dude. Like,
I see their Twitter is trying to change the way they tweet and things of that nature.
This new CEO is, I like this guy. I think he's got the right mind to turn them around. Yeah, I really do. So he seems he doesn't seem hyper corporate like some of the other guys that we have in gaming. Like he seems like he really wants to create a place that is. Like, he wants to turn the company around, obviously, but I think he really genuinely wants to create a place that is a place gamers want to go, you know?
Well, he probably looked at the sales numbers that cons and tournaments do. Mm-hmm. Like, they have huge amounts of, like, money flowing through them, and, like, no one's there to, like, funnel all this money through, like, for the taking, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, then they can turn themselves into like little mini cons where you can have maybe vendors come up there every once in a while.
Work with cons,
exactly,
in the local markets that they're in. You know, do events with them, or even help sign people up or things like that to go to the cons. Like, they can do all sorts of stuff, dude, and sell merch. Like, it's like they've been so limited in their scope that it's like hilarious that it's taken them this long to figure this out.
Yeah, because it came to us like 2 minutes.
They're not even trying to innovate. That's their problem, is that they don't even try to innovate. They're so regular business. They're not looking at it from like a gaming perspective and really looking at the market they sell in. Yeah. You know, and figuring out how they can do cool things to expand that market and bring exposure to the market. You know, it's like,
because I'll be honest, I don't want this company to die. I think it would be very scary if GameStop died.
I mean, I don't care. Like, I don't really like GameStop. I haven't liked them for a long time. You know, but
I don't like them either. But I feel like it would be a major staple gone.
It would. It'd be a shame. And I think a lot of people are at the point where they're writing them off. Yeah. And are saying it's over. GameStop won't be around in 5 years.
Yep.
But I don't know. The new consoles are coming out next year, and that is going to buoy them for a little bit.
Yeah,
for sure. Like, they're gonna be able to survive for at least 5 years. I would say a little bit more than that, probably, just off that. Yeah. You know, and I don't know. It's like I don't like that people are shutting this down so quickly. It's like, give it a shot, give it a chance. You know,
I don't. I mean, I haven't seen any kind of criticism towards it, but like,
it's mostly in the media that I see this, not necessarily with fans.
Okay,
but
yeah, like, because this can be their, like someone said in the comments, this will be a better opening of a arcade or vape shop, right? So like, they would do better as like that local arcade spot or whatever the case may be. You play the game, you buy the video game, or you can host things with like Xbox. You have Sony sponsored events, Xbox sponsored events, Nintendo sponsored events. Instead of just doing it when the game opens or whatever, you can do it then. Like for instance, Smash, right? You can have the Smash tournament, of course, when the game is being there, right? People are in line, but then people play the game for a couple weeks, then they come down to a local GameStop and then test their skills against local people who have bought Smash. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
But dude, just reading the comments of this article, man, like, it's pretty negative. Like,
oh yeah,
one of these Reach to Desperation, beginning of the end. Yeah. Here's another one. An original used copy of a Nintendo Ninja Gaiden will probably go for $40 because GameStop is scum. Yeah. Like, it's like that's the perception of this company, dude. Even though it's not necessarily true. You know? Dude, I've made so much money trading into GameStop because I don't just go there and take whatever they give me. Like, I wait and make sure I go at the right time when they're doing a trade-in deal. Dude, you can get legit trade-in value for some stuff. Yeah. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I said this before on the podcast. I got my PlayStation 4 trading games in. I traded in $450 worth of games, and I didn't trade in 75 games to get $450. I traded in I want to say 15 games or 20. Like, they were good games and games that I didn't want. But I remember I got $55 trading credit for Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U. Like, $55, dude. The game is 60 new.
Yeah, and I actually like this one comment here of a guy who's actually giving reasonable feedback. He said, they need to reinvent the wheel fully as well. They need to do price matching, how Best Buy has it with Amazon, things of that nature. Give more for the trades, like we're talking about. Ask less for the used games, like policy thing. Another thing here, make the subscription meaningful. Yes. If you're going to ask me to subscribe to something, I want it more than just fucking Game Informer.
Well, yeah, not a fucking magazine.
Yeah, because no one really reads magazines
I don't
anymore.
read them.
Yeah.
You get them and you don't read them. It's like
maybe I get 20% off my games. Or what was that Best Buy deal you had?
Yeah, it was 20%. It's Gamer Club Unlocked. I still have it for a month.
Yeah.
Man, dude. It makes me
They can do something like
depressed.
that. I mean, 15% off games, that would be fucking huge for them.
Dude, even 10% off or 15% off a pre-order or something like that. Like, you don't necessarily have to go to 20, but then give a bigger discount on used games. They give 10% off used games. That's nothing, man. It's nothing. You're already charging $55 for a $60 game when it's used. Like, that's one of the other points he's make is, charge less for used games.
Exactly.
You should. Match what the actual used market is.
Yep. I agree with that. And another one here is hire people that actually know games. Not only that, but hire someone that has a personality that knows how to talk to people. I hate going to GameStops, which they have been doing better about hiring people that actually know how to talk to people. But I just remember maybe a couple years back, I used to go to a GameStop. I know video games, but if I hear someone talk to someone else that doesn't really know video games, one of the store clerks, and they talk to a mom or something like that who doesn't really know video games.
I almost want to interject.
Exactly, because that person doesn't know how to communicate with them. And I will end up interjecting because I am that type of person sometimes where I'm like, listen.
You're giving them the wrong information.
Yeah, you're giving them the wrong information.
Yeah.
So... yeah, one lady came in there looking for Minecraft, and this dude was like, "Oh, you must be looking for that online game." It's actually an online game called Roblox, and I'm like, "No, she's looking for Minecraft, bro. Like, Minecraft is right there. You almost just lost the sale because you were trying to be, I don't know, not listen to what she was wanting." Yeah. So.
Well, this other one here, make a simplified system that helps to speed up the checkout process. This is huge for them.
Yes.
You don't know how many times I've gone into a fucking GameStop to buy a single game. Brand new game that just came out. I'm literally going to be out in 2 seconds, and I'm stuck in line behind this guy who's got fucking 35 games he's trading in. Or what's even worse sometimes is when people buy, they buy a console and they buy a bunch of games, and for some unknown reason, it takes 20 minutes to check that person out. Yeah. It's it drives me absolutely bonkers how bad their checkout process can be sometimes. Yep. So that's absolutely true as well.
And I think another one, the last point, is don't push employees for the subscriptions. I think that's huge because a lot of their negative feedback comes from ex-employees.
Well, you feel like you're getting harassed. It's like I've said before. You stand in line for 15 minutes behind somebody because there's no one else to ring people up. Yeah. And then when you actually finally get checked out, you just want the brand new game that just came out today, and that's all you came here for. And it's like, hey, do you want to sign up for our subscription? Is there any games you want to pre-order? You want this on top of it? You want a game warranty? It's like, no, I don't want any of this shit. Stop asking me. It's
exactly, and on the other side of that, not just from the consumer side, but from the employee side. I've talked to plenty of GameStop employees who hate doing that shit.
Of course they do.
They just want to talk about the video game.
Yeah, dude, I worked retail retail. I hate that stuff.
Yeah, by the time you get to the like you said, by the time the customer gets there, I may be an employee and I love Sekiro, and you're about to buy it, right? And I'm like, man, Sekiro's pretty good. You don't want to hear anything I have to say because you think I'm about to try to sell you something instead of actually engaging in a conversation with someone who's knowledgeable about the game. And on top of that, it's stressful to them. So if you're stressing your employees out, and then your employees have a word of mouth, and they're telling people like, man, I wouldn't even go to GameStop. I'm hearing people who work for GameStop telling me, don't go to GameStop. Like, you know how detrimental to your company.
Your own employees are spreading bad word of mouth. And it's like, dude, I've had good experiences at GameStop. Like, there's the one in South Lake. It's one of the biggest ones I've ever been in. And there was a manager that used to be there. I don't actually know if he's there anymore because I don't go in GameStop very much anymore. I haven't been there in like probably over a year. But I remember I would go in there sometimes when a game would come out that I want to buy, and I would like I'd talk to this manager, and he just like him and I would just talk about the like recent releases. It was like, I don't know, it was like kind of cool. It was like, you know, he talked to me like we're talking now, you know, about games. Like he wasn't trying to sell me anything. He wasn't trying to like be like, hey man, you know, you should pre-order this game or whatever. It's like, no, it was just us having a conversation. It was cool. It made me feel like this is a cool GameStop. Like I want to come back here
and build a rapport with you. And
exactly.
Like you said, you want to come back here. And that's how they need to approach the situation.
Exactly. It needs to be more casual, I think. And
it looks like they're going for that, but they have to definitely hit.
They have a lot of work, dude. They got a lot of work to do, man.
I think they can do it.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. We'll see. It's going to take a lot, though. I think it's going to take a lot of time too. That's the other issue. All right, let's move on to some release dates. Fresh off of our conversation, I know this is going live before our GameCube talk, but fresh off, or actually, no, we did our GameCube talk 2 episodes ago. 2 episodes,
right? Sorry,
Sorry, guys, we've recorded so many episodes in the last week. I'm like jumbling them all up in my head. But fresh off talking about Super Monkey Ball, there's a re-release coming out on consoles in September, man. Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD. I believe this is a Wii. This is a Wii game, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, sorry. October 29th is the release date on console, Switch, and PS4. And then it's coming to PC later. But yeah, this one was on the Wii, I believe, and it used the Wiimote for movement or something like that. It was like a motion control game. But
the last one that came out, I think, came out on the Wii. I didn't buy it because of that.
I'm going to guess since it's on PS4, it's probably not going to be motion control, though.
I'm
then
hoping
again, they could...
They can use the controller.
They could use the move.
I actually, for Monkey Ball games, I don't mind it because usually it's not stupid. Like it's not.
Well, did you play this one?
No, I didn't play this one. So, but they did have an arcade game that was kind of like that, where you had like the motion stick thing. So
yeah. Well, are you gonna get this?
Depends on how I feel.
What? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming out.
Yeah,
but hey, man, I know you like Super Monkey Ball.
That shit's fun as fuck.
It's an interesting game. It's an interesting series. I don't know. It's interesting. All right,
it's more nostalgic for me. I understand if you didn't grow up with it, then
yeah.
I understand.
I would be interested to see how much interest there actually is in it, though.
Yeah.
Like how many people actually buy it. But all right, last game is called Everreach Project Eden. I don't know if this was announced before today, but I just saw this today. And it is, it's coming on PC and Xbox One in September of 2019, and then it's coming to PS4 in an undisclosed later date. I would hope still 2019, but it could potentially be early 2020. This game is interesting. It was described as a Mass Effect-like game. I don't really think it necessarily looks that way. Like it has the same over the shoulder camera angle as Mass Effect, but it needs to have a lot more to be considered a Mass Effect like game, in my opinion, in terms of story and stuff.
Tactical battles and stuff like that. So I remember the original Mass Effect 1 was very tactical on how you use your teammates and things of that nature. And it says it has a classical skill tree of over 80 upgrades.
Well, yeah, so this is a third-person shooter. There's going to be a skill tree, some sort of leveling system. It seems fairly robust. It's going to be a short game, 8 to 10 hours, it looks like, so not a very long game, but which actually is attractive to me.
Yeah.
But it is a sci-fi game where you are going to basically a new planet that is getting colonized, and some shit goes haywire, is what it looks like. Game looks interesting to me. I don't know if I'm going to play it at launch, but definitely looked intrigued. It definitely intrigued me for sure. I do like this style of game. I don't know if it's going to be fully open world or not, though, so that's kind of unclear to me too. So I'm going to keep my eye on this game and really look at it more deeply when it gets closer to launch. But interesting game for folks who are looking for a sci-fi shooter.
Yeah, the same person who wrote the Mass Effect or helped write the Mass Effect trilogy.
Yep. There's some pedigree on this team. Yeah, there was that, and then there were a couple other people as well that were some people who worked on some Blizzard games. I can't remember the other studio.
Yeah, the trailer looks really rough, but I can definitely see the potential there.
Yeah, we'll see if they can pull it together.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to game releases this week. There is not a lot. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is coming out on Friday. Not a ton of other games. There's something called World Cruise Story, which is basically like a cruise builder. You build like ship cruises. Looks interesting to me. Having come from a cruise recently, I was like, oh, that looks kind of interesting.
This guy.
Build my own cruise ship, man.
This guy.
Oh, man. Let's see. Anything else, man? Anything piquing your interest this week?
I mean, God Eater. Oh, no, that was last week.
That was last week. Yeah, we're in the doldrums of summer right now.
I mean, that Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 looks cool. I would pick it up if I had more people to play with.
Yep. City Skylines on Nintendo Switch.
That's about it, though.
That's about it, man. Next week is kind of the bigger week with Fire Emblem, which is topic of the show, baby. So we're going to talk about briefly, give our feelings and impressions on Fire Emblem Three Houses as it is coming out next week. We're not going to have an episode next week to really talk about it, so or preview it, so we're going to do it now. So Montrell, you said that you hadn't really watched much footage of this game or really looked at it too deeply, right?
I wanted to be in the dark about the game.
Well, I'm gonna ruin that for you.
Okay, go ahead and
ruin
my fun. So I'm watching gameplay footage now.
I'm gonna ruin it in a good way because it's good.
Okay.
What I'm seeing is good stuff. So basically, I mean, many of you probably know this if you've been following this game. This game takes place on a continent called Fodlan. And your character that you are playing as is a mercenary who is a teacher at this monastery in the middle of the continent. There are these three nations around the monastery that are all separate empires, and they basically send their royalty, their nobles, to this monastery to learn and teach, or get taught rather, to get an education. And you are teaching these kids basically. So you're going to be teaching kids from all three nations. And there is going to be a large section of the game early on where it's very centered in the monastery, and it's kind of like, you know, people have made the joke of Hogwarts, Fire Emblem, or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it kind of reminds me of.
But it's got some Persona-ish qualities to it where you're going to have to choose activities at certain times of day of what you want to do. So say it's lunchtime, you can go train with this character, or you can go do a lesson with this character, or you can do a fun activity with this character, you know, and they'll have different effects. Right? Okay. And that's going to be a big portion of the early game, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of fights in there and story segments and stuff, and you're going to do a lot of battles and stuff with these characters and level them up and whatnot. But then there is a 5-year time skip after this, and you have to pick one of the three empires to side with, basically.
Okay.
So there's going to be 3 different story paths, similar to Fire Emblem Fates. There's 3 different story paths based on which empire you choose to side with. And I gotta say, I'm getting excited about this game because now that we're close, it's clear that they're doing the opposite of what they did with Fates. They have 3 paths, just like Fates did, but it's all in one game.
Okay.
You're not gonna have to buy 3 different fucking versions.
You had to buy 3 different versions of Fates?
Oh yes. It was a $100 proposition to get all the content in Fates.
Yikes.
Because you had to buy Conquest, you had to buy Birthright, and then Revelations came out a month after the game came out, and it was a $20 DLC.
Okay, that's doing too much.
Oh, it was why do you think I have so many issues with this company right now, dude? Like, this is what they've done to the series. So they kind of went back. It seems like they're really, with this one, trying to bring the series back to a level of quality it hasn't had in a long time. This game is giving me really big Path of Radiance vibes.
I was just going to say that. So I haven't played Path of Radiance, but I have watched Let's Plays of it, and I'm watching Let's Play of this game right now, of Fire Emblem Three Houses right now, and honestly, the way the animations are like really sharp and really quick, it's giving me Path of Radiance. When I remember watching it, it was like that too.
They were quick. They weren't obnoxious. They didn't overstay their welcome.
Exactly.
Fates and Awakening got out of control with this stuff.
Yes,
dude, it's taking characters 10 seconds to swing their sword and hit somebody. It's like it was. It definitely looks a lot tighter in that regard. The character designs are a lot less skimpy.
Yep.
A lot less, that waifu stuff.
Oh yeah,
that Fire Emblem Heroes is like known for. There's a lot less of that, and I really like a lot of the character designs actually.
Yeah, they look pretty cool.
I have to say I'm cautiously optimistic about the game, but I think some of the other stuff too that we've kind of heard about is I really like I'm actually really looking forward to the monastery element of the game.
Okay.
Like the running around and like teaching the students and developing them in that portion of the game. I mean, how does that strike you? Because that's a big departure from the Fire Emblem we've known recently.
Yeah. If it's okay, if it's fleshed out, then cool.
Dude, the way they're talking about it is going to be very fleshed out.
I just have a problem with Fire Emblem because they do too much outside the combat. Like, it seemed like sometimes they focus a little bit too much on that aspect of the game.
Yeah.
Well, not with Fire Emblem, recent Fire Emblem titles. Because I haven't played a Fire Emblem game since Awakening, and Awakening turned me off Fire Emblem so badly. Because the animations were slow, and there was stuff you had to do outside. You can go back and replay. I mean, I like going back and replaying missions.
There was the marriage stuff.
And it was a lot for me to take in, but it was a lot of unnecessary shit. Like, I like my games complicated, but it was just like, hey, you can do all this shit too. And it's like, I don't want to do that. I just want to fight people and stuff.
So this game, I will say, it seems like the outside combat stuff is really focused on RPG, like building your characters, like upgrading their stats, increasing their weapon proficiencies with certain weapons, and kind of determining their class and things like that. So from a design standpoint, though, the game is also going to be very different from Fates, because Fates took out weapon durability. It was the first Fire Emblem game to ever take out weapon durability.
Really?
Yeah. And so your weapons were basically, they had static stat increases that they gave you, and they all had different advantages and disadvantages that they had. And I didn't mind this system, but I kind of miss the weapon durability. I kind of like the weapon durability, and they're bringing it back for this game.
Oh, cool.
If you're paying attention in those videos, you'll see that like the weapon they're using has a value like 50 out of 50, or whatever, like a durability value like they used to have. And another thing that they're changing, and this is a huge change, and I am actually over the moon about this. When I heard this the other day, this completely made me like, I'm like, this restored my faith in intelligent systems. They are getting rid of the weapon triangle. No more sword over axe, axe over lance, lance over sword. They're getting rid of it.
So how are they going to do the how they balancing everything?
It's going to be a strategy game. You don't need the weapon triangle. And dude, this was my biggest complaint about Fates, is the weapon triangle, and this happened in Awakening too to a lesser extent, is dude, the weapon triangle got out of fucking control. Like completely out of control. Like it was to the point where axe users could not hit a sword user ever. It didn't matter what their stats were. It was completely absurd.
I didn't know it
like,
got
dude,
that bad.
The bonuses and the detriments were completely out of whack in that game. Like, dude, it was like 25%. Like you would lose 25% to hit, and the opponent would gain like 25%. It was crazy, dude. It's way more muted in some of the older Fire Emblem games. Like, yes, you get like a damage point bonus, but dude, in Fates, it was like it was such a ridiculous swing that it was impossible. Not impossible, but it was extremely difficult for the character without weapon advantage to actually win the fight, you know? So the fact that they're taking that out now is like they can approach design of the encounters so much differently now, you know? It's like I'm actually really, really excited about this because I was worried that they were going to...
Are they going to have any kind of like weapon triangle or any type of like witness advantages or disadvantages to the game?
Weapon types, like against each other? Not necessarily. I think the weapons are going to have their own inherent advantages. Okay. I don't think they're necessarily... Like, they're going to have inherent advantages and disadvantages probably per weapon type, but they're not going to affect your ability in combat against a specific other weapon type, you know? So that's, like, I'm sure, like, swords will be more accurate or whatever, and axes will do more damage, but they'll be less accurate.
I just remember in Blazing Sword, they had that weapon triangle. It was very detrimental to your tactics, but they also had certain weapons that go against that weapon triangle. So you may have an axe, but it was like a hammer. So
they had the sword breaker, lance breaker, like they had the sword breaker axe, and they had the lance breaker. They still had that in Fates, but dude, it was like, oh, that was what was so annoying about the weapon triangle in that game, because you had to pay attention to every weapon that every unit was using on the enemy side, because if you just assumed that because dude, they would litter those opposite weapons into the battlefield amongst the enemy units, and if you didn't pay attention and you were like, oh, that's a lance user, I'm gonna put my axe user over here, and they had that lance that was actually effective against axes, it would literally destroy your entire battle. Like, the character would die and you would lose, you know? It was like you would have to start over from scratch. It was like so frustrating. It's so frustrating. So
I will say one thing I do like about this game, even though I was complaining about the animations, I like how when you go into the battle phase, you have the option, because it looks like I watched 2 different videos. He had the option for, like, your soldiers behind you turned off, and it was just like him and the actual soldier fighting that he was targeting. Or I'm watching another one that I have it turned on, even though the animations are still fast and fluid. It's like, I like seeing, like, I'm on an actual battlefield.
We're surrounded by other people.
Other people. So.
Well, that supposedly has mechanical impact, too.
Oh, really?
Those, like, they're not just for show.
Okay.
I think there's actually, like, something to that part of the game, so I'm excited to see what that is, too. I'm really hoping they're not just a cosmetic feature, because if they are, I'm probably just going to turn them off. But, yeah, we'll see about that. So weapon triangle's gone. Durability's back. I will say I am of the belief that there will be children in this game. I think you will be able to pair units off.
So they have combat arts?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not really too familiar with that.
That's nothing new. They've been around. Like, Awakening had them, I think.
Okay.
Well, not combat arts necessarily, but like abilities that your characters would get based on their class.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, this is something they've been doing since Path of Radiance, really, honestly. Like, they've always had skills in the game, but they've become more widespread in the more recent games. Fates in particular and Awakening in particular were ones where you would have to switch classes to kind of max your character's skills out and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, that is another interesting element to the game. But I'm excited because it seems to me like they're focused on gameplay. They're focused on making a good game, like a really quality game.
Hey, maybe that Fire Emblem Heroes kind of helped them out where they can.
I'm hoping that's the case, dude. That it's not influencing them in a negative way, and it seems like it's not. It seems like they're using that game as a way to kind of fund development of the main stuff.
You think Nintendo got in their ear and like, hey, like,
let's calm it down a little bit? Yeah. Maybe.
I think a lot of people were pissed about Fates.
Oh, dude. You know what's funny? I probably put 500-600 hours into Fates total.
Really?
Oh, I was a psycho, dude. I was so. This is the reason why I know that game so well, and I hate it so much.
Okay.
Because when you play a game that much, you become so intimately familiar with its systems and its deep flaws, and then its positives as well. You become very familiar with everything about it, and dude, it's just a game that has extremely bad design flaws to it that make the game unfun to play. Like, at a certain point, like, dude, the weapon triangle thing is something I eventually, like, I don't know how I put up with this for so long, because eventually I just got so tired of it. You get so sick and tired of, like, just your characters being completely useless against a certain weapon type. Like, it's just not fun to have that experience, you know? That's not the way older Fire Emblems really were, you know?
They from what I understand, they were influenced by it.
Like dude, Shadows of Valentia, which is the second game, the remake of Gaiden, the second Fire Emblem, there's no weapon triangle in that game.
Yeah, a lot of people in the comments for this game were saying, like, yo, this is really heavily inspired by Shadows of Valentia.
It looks like it. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Shadows of Valentia has its own issues character growth is extremely stunted in that game.
Okay.
Like the growth percentages are way lower than they normally are in more recent Fire Emblems.
Okay.
But that won't be the case in this game. That's just not the way they design these games anymore. But I think the lack of a weapon triangle and some of the running around the environment and stuff like that, it does seem like a game that is going to be more. It's going to be like that game in certain ways.
Okay.
So I can definitely see the influence there for sure. And I don't consider that a bad thing. I actually like that game a lot. I thought that game was the best Fire Emblem I'd played since like Radiant Dawn, probably.
Oh, really?
Honestly. So,
I mean, this game looks really fast, really fluid. The animations don't overstay their welcome, and I don't know. That's what I liked about the older titles, like the 2D titles. Like
the sprites were so good, dude.
the sprites were flashy, but they were like quick, man.
Yeah, they were quick. Yeah.
And when I watched Path of Radiance, it was the same thing. Like it was, even though it was in 3D, like they did their animation, then battle phase. It was a strategic phase, and then they just went. It just kept going.
So that's the thing with Fates and Awakening. I eventually turned the animations off entirely. So it was just me with the sprites.
Oh, really?
Fighting on the map. Like there was no. I turned the animations off entirely because you just get sick of it.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I played 600 hours. I probably watched like 20 hours of animations. You know, or more.
Like,
you know.
On Awakening, I hated when I fought with Crom and he had to pull his sword out. He's like. Then
he had it in the ground and he'd pull it out and he's like and then he'd like run towards the person, hit him, and then it's like, you know, I don't know, it's just, yeah, it was obnoxious, dude. Like,
I mean, I think that was
they were trying to make him cool.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, dude, no, he would do this thing, like, the sword would be in the ground, which, why is your sword in the ground in the middle of a giant battle? First of all, Crom. I fucking hate Crom, by the way. I think he's the worst lord in Fire Emblem, both statistically and character-wise. And he'd have his sword in the ground, and he'd pick it up, and then he'd, like, crouch down a little bit, and, like, wait. And he wouldn't immediately go attack. He just like he's like striking a pose, like, you know, I'm cool.
It was so, you know, obnoxious,
so transparently obvious. That's what they were going for too, and it was annoying, so annoying. Yeah, and there's, I don't know. It just, I think the world looks cool to me too, like Foldland. Like the concept of it looks really interesting. I love the idea of the three kingdoms vying for control, because that is very Tellius. That's very Path of Radiance, because Path of Radiance had a very similar setup. There were multiple nations all in the same continent, kind of vying for power and whatnot. So I'm kind of hoping for a similar give and take with that, you know, because that was what made those games so good. Is the political intrigue of the Tellius games was. Like high quality stuff in Fire Emblem. It's some of the best Fire Emblem storytelling that there has been. Yeah. So I'm very hopeful we're looking at a similar situation with this game, you know?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it and then hearing you talk about it, but I'm honestly just looking at it, like I'm pretty hyped for this game. Honestly, like I wasn't hyped before, but I was kind of hyped. I'm like,
Well, dude, when we were far out, I was, like I said, I had voiced concerns about it, that they hadn't really talked about the DLC, they hadn't talked about a lot of things, and it seems like as we get closer, like, there's going to be DLC in the game, but I don't think it's going to, I think it's going to be a little bit more toned down than usual.
Yeah, I'm just really impressed with, so far I watched about 3 videos. I'm really impressed with the character design, especially of the women. They're not the Fire Emblem heroes.
They're not all showing their breasts.
Yeah.
Their fucking cleavage, dude. Like,
they're actually wearing armor suitable for war.
Combat.
Yeah, man. Like, because I remember in Fates, not Fates, but Awakening, it was just like one character that really turned me off. I think it was like the 10,000-year-old dragon chick, and I was just like, okay,
Naui and Tiki.
Yeah,
I think the two of them.
I was just like, bro, what is this?
Camilla from Fates, like she's one of the royals on the Nor side, and she's that super busty chick.
Oh my god,
with the giant breasts, and she's wearing this like obnoxious armor that barely covers her. Like, it's like, dude, and she's like riding a wyvern, like like she's got this giant axe. It's like, I don't know, dude. Like, it was so over the top. Like,
it was really anime.
So, I'm glad to see it's a little bit more toned down for sure.
Yeah, because that's what I liked about the Fire Emblems, the previous Fire Emblems character design. It wasn't anime. It was still anime, but it wasn't like over the top anime like we're used to in certain shows.
Yep.
It was more so like this is an anime set in medieval times, and they're going to dress appropriate to that time.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember in Blazing Sword anyone being that egregious. Like even the dancer chick, when you find out you have like the bard guy and then the dancer that kind of buffs your stats.
Ninian and what the hell is his name? Nils,
yeah. But you had those and you found out they were dragons, but spoiler alert. But
whatever. The game's dude, it's 15 years old, guys. It's okay. It's not that mind blowing of a moment either.
Neither she wasn't dressed like, you know, a stripper. Like, you know.
No, she has a great outfit. Actually, I love the design of her outfit. It's like even the Radiant Path of Radiance, like I'm thinking of most of the female characters in that game. I can't think of very many that are like obnoxious like that. Yeah, they're very like kind of. Actually, they're very like covered up. Yeah, like most of them, like they barely show any skin. Yeah, a lot of them. So, it's definitely a more recent thing. I think it's been heavily influenced by the success of Awakening. Yeah, I think Awakening was way more successful than they were anticipating, and I think they saw an audience that was very, very into the swimsuit versions of the characters and the skimpy outfits. They probably get the weird little girl characters that are 1,000 years old but wear these see-through outfits. Like, oh god, man, I hate that Fire Emblem's turned into this, and I'm really happy to see that. It might not be staying that way.
A little bit off topic, but I really hope Xenoblade Chronicles doesn't go that way. Because Pyra and Mithra were a little bit... even when my girlfriend was watching me play, she was like, is she wearing a thong? And I'm like, yeah, about that. The blades are a little
bit... Their breasts were completely out of control. And what's her name? What the hell is her name? The blue, Bridget.
Oh, yeah, Bridget.
Her outfit is completely absurd. Like, she's wearing literally 2 pieces of cloth that cover her nipples. And then the rest of her is completely, like, uncovered. Like... Dude, it's like it doesn't even cover her up. Yeah, it's like if you're looking at her from the side, I'm sure you're seeing everything. You've got a full view, man. Like holy crap! And she's sitting there lecturing Tora about being a creeper. Like, what are you doing, lady? What are you doing? Like, that was definitely a little over the top. I hope they kind of pare it back with the next game for sure. But looks like Fire Emblem was doing that, so that's definitely exciting. I'm interested to see because they keep talking about this game like it's huge. Like the developers were saying that each path is going to be 8 hours or 80 hours rather. And then I heard another report saying that each path is more like 40 to 45. But dude, even if that's true, 40 to 45, that's 120 to 130 hours of gameplay. That's crazy. That doesn't even include post game if there's any post game stuff too. So this game sounds like it's huge. Like it sounds like it's an extremely large game, and that is pretty exciting. So I'm interested to see because dude, the fun part about this game I think is gonna be really pick a path obviously, and what I'm really hoping for is that there is a lot of interplay between the characters you chose to work with and then the other characters that you were teaching at the monastery early in the game in that group, right? Yeah. Like it'll be really cool because I'm sure that's what's going to happen, right? Yeah, because they're all kind of fighting each other.
And if that's the case, if the story's really good, then I wouldn't mind the little waifu, you know, marrying people type deal. Because, I mean, like I said, I didn't mind it in Mass Effect, you know what I'm saying? Because the story was so good, I was engaged with these characters. Yeah. So that's the same case with this. In Awakening, it was just like, hey, you can marry somebody and you gotta have...
No, it just happens. The game doesn't even tell you. Like, it just kind of happens. And they just get paired off based off this criteria of, like, how high their support level is.
Exactly. It was weird. So.
And Fates was so annoying because it was a similar thing, but the game... You didn't have to do it in a specific moment. Like you could pair characters off at any time. Yeah. They had to hit S rank, and once they hit S rank together, they had a kid, and the kid was immediately available. Like the kid would be born, and then they put him into this like alternate dimension bubble basically that they're in, and then they age up really quickly because apparently time in the bubbles goes faster than it does in the real world. It's like, it's the most obnoxious thing just to support this mechanic. So I'm really hoping this game, if it does have the husband-wife thing, the marriage mechanic, I'm really hoping they don't have some dumb, stupid like
magic thing,
magic Deus Ex Machina thing to explain why these kids are able to fight with you, because there is a 5-year gap, but 5 years is not enough time for a kid to grow up and be able to fight.
Be 5 years old. So.
Yeah, exactly. So that is kind of something I'm worried about, but I guess we'll see it when the game comes out. I kind of hope they just take it out.
I am too.
I really hope they just take it out, because dude, it adds nothing to the franchise for me. Like, I think it's really not a fun mechanic.
It's not.
It's obnoxious. It takes forever to do because you have to level up supports.
But there are people out there that like that type of shit. I think they're trying to fit in that dating sim market.
Go play Fire Emblem Heroes. Okay.
No, they're trying to fit in that dating sim market, man.
That's what I'm concerned about with this Persona-esque element of this game.
Yeah.
I think it's really going to heavily lean on that kind of stuff, though.
Yeah, you're right.
We'll see in the dialogue. Is the dialogue going to be like that cheesy anime stuff where it's like, oh my god, oh, sensei, I can't believe you're here when I'm naked. Oh god. Shit like that. Like, you walk in on them after they've fucking showered or something. It's like, I really hope that is not what we're looking at. So,
oh my god,
I'm still a little concerned about certain things, but
I will be honest. That's kind of one of the parts I don't like about Persona is that whole how they force you to, have relationships and stuff. And it's like, I get it for the story, but whatever. But yeah, for this game, I was completely turned off of it. I have never been so turned off of a mechanic in my
same.
I was just like,
everything
wow.
about Awakening turned me off.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the worst Fire Emblem. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Easily.
It's like, I hate Fates, but my dislike of Awakening is so much higher.
I put a lot of hours into Awakening too, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Dude, Fates at least has a coherent story, and at least to a certain degree feels like a Fire Emblem game. Awakening doesn't feel like a Fire Emblem game to me.
It feels like an anime adventure, man.
Yeah. It feels incomplete. The fact that you can grind is so not Fire Emblem.
Yes.
That is not a Fire Emblem thing.
That turned me off. That grinding shit really turned me off.
Obviously, certain Fire Emblems have allowed you to grind.
Yeah.
Some of them have, and some people will argue that is a thing that's in Fire Emblem. However, good Fire Emblem, the ones that we were introduced to in North America, Blazing Sword, I'm not going to include Sacred Stones because Sacred Stones did let you grind.
Okay.
But Blazing Sword, Path of Radiance, and Radiant Dawn, those three did not let you grind at all. Those were completely linear experiences that doled out experience in a very limited way. You couldn't level everyone up. You had to pick characters.
You had to pick characters, yeah.
So that's what Fire Emblem is to me, and I didn't like the Awakening model.
And I thought I wanted that.
Yeah.
I thought I did, honestly. Yeah. When I was playing Blazing Sword, I thought I wanted that mechanic, because I really want to level up this character. And I'm like, man, it'd be cool if I had a stage where I can grind. And then I played Awakening, and I'm like, yo, this is stupid, because they designed certain missions behind the grind mechanic, and you're just like, all right, no, I don't. This is not fun.
Well, the game wanted you to grind.
Yeah.
Yeah, the story missions would be spaced out in such a way level-wise that you would almost have to grind.
Exactly.
And the grinding is not fun. It wasn't engaging. The battles are boring. You're not ever at any risk of losing anybody. It's they were just bad. It was just straight up bad stuff. So. And
when you did a side mission on Blazing Sword, it was worth it. Mm-hmm. You got something out of it.
No, it was a full battle.
Yeah.
It was a full-fledged battle like any other story battle. It wasn't some half-assed thing.
Yeah.
You would get like you said, you would get weapons for it. You might even get a character sometimes. It was absolutely worth doing those side missions. And that
character changed the dynamic of the next mission. If you had that story, if you had that character, then that character can talk to someone in on the enemy faction, and you probably when you have to fight, they're like, hey, I know you. You're like, oh yeah, I do know you. And they're like, oh, we'll just join your team, or we'll let you guys go. And then the mission will end. You're like, oh, okay, I didn't have to fight anybody. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to this game. It's coming out 10 days. There's a lot to look forward to here, but I think that's all I got to say, man. You got anything else you want to say about it?
No, that's it.
Alrighty. We've done it again, guys. This is going to be 3 weeks in a row, 3 episodes in a row where we have clocked in under an hour and 30 minutes. And this is the first one you're actually going to hear. but the next two are also under an hour 30. They're actually longer than this one, though. It's like hour 25, I think, for both. But we did it, baby. We're getting better, man. We're actually getting these shows a little bit more concise and like compact. There wasn't a lot to talk about this week either. So, all right, let's do the outro, guys. So, if you like the show, please like the show. Please review the show and subscribe to the show on the feed that you listen to us on. Then share the show with your friends. We really appreciate it. We like to grow the audience. If you want to talk to us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrapForTheHokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I am at Thundernut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you want to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter, or you can do so by sending us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. As we said, we're going to have a couple Players Take reflections. The next couple weeks, we're going to be talking about the games in the next calendar year that we're excited about. And then the next one after that is going to be a kind of discussion about StarCraft and StarCraft Brood War. So those are both really good conversations. We hope you guys enjoy those. And we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And we will see you on the next one. All right? Bye, guys.